Hey guys, today we're gonna take a look at geometry editing features in Hyperworks X and how you can make use of the new workflow. So stick with me. We have created here a little demonstration, very easy model. And we will at first cover the topic of the cross extend. I promised it last video and I'm doing it right now. So cross extend is one functionality where you can easily extend surfaces until to the point where they meet, or it's in this case it's not even a point, it's a line, and mostly it's a line. And just a quick reminder, let me go back for a second. Left click is displayed like this, right click is displayed like this, and the middle mouse button is displayed like that, so that you don't get confused what those symbols are. All right, back to the surface cross extend functionality. I can just easily select two surfaces. And now you see that little check mark. Yeah, it's just appearing when you hover over one of the two surfaces. Now, if you just click once here or anywhere with the middle mouse button, that's the same action, you confirm the action and it is executed. So you see that the two surfaces have been extended, and it's also good to remember the color scheme here. You have red lines, which are the outer boundaries of a surface, and you have the green line in the middle, which indicates that two surfaces come together at this point. Let me just quickly revert this action because I want to show you something different. Now, let's say I have extended a surface like this, a little bit like that. So you see that if you extend the surfaces, they would meet here somewhere. But the problem would be that there is an overlap I don't want to have. And you can cover that in the cross extend functionality as well, because you have the options panel here where you have all your tolerance settings, and here there's this check mark which is usually turned off, but you can allow for shortening. So if you select the surfaces, in this case there are 3 surfaces, and you hit OK, pay close attention what happens in this area. So I'm pressing left mouse button now, and you see that it is shortened. All right, so that's it for the cross extend functionality. It's pretty useful. Quickly going back to the old version of Hyperworks, there the cross extend functionality is there as well, but hidden in the surface edit. So you have extend here, and then you can do it like that. All right, which is also possible in Hyperworks X. So I'm sorry, that's for later use. It's also possible here. So geometry, surface edit, and there you have your old panel if you want to use it like this. All right, now we will cover the geometry editing features here. And we start with the very simple split with points method. Now, split with points is used when you want to split either a line, a surface, or a solid with a point or multiple points. For example, I select as a target entity the lines. Now I select the line, and then you have a number here which you can change, for example 2 or maybe 3. And if you hit enter, you see that 3 splits of this line are created. And you can do that on the other side with a different number as well. And you see that, the change is obvious. Now, also surfaces can be split with points. And for this reason, maybe I want to split the midpoint here. So I select the surface, and now I get over to points. And you see that it snaps to the surface center. So this is one easy way to select the surface center if you want to do that. And I just click once and you see that this point split is created. Fine, so that works. You can easily do that on solids as well. I will not demonstrate it in this video, I guess. Yeah, I will do something with solids later on, but not the split functionality. And yeah, that's about it for split with points. Now, you also can split with a line. For example, you see that maybe you want to split it in the middle, but the problem is you have to have a line for splitting by line. So we will create a line, and I'm always confused to click here, but this is the midpoints or extract points from lines option, since not the line is here. And for example, I want to create a line from the middle to the one edge, and from here to here. So it's a diagonal line. Well, I could use the two corner points here, but well, all right. Now I can use those lines to split the surface with this functionality. So the target would be this surface, and the lines I want to use here are both lines. And sorry, the color scheme is a little bit confusing. If I use the dark gray here, you can see the selector because the selector color is the orange color. So I'll select the two lines, and here's the tolerance. But in this case, the line is completely onto the surface, so 0 should be okay. If you hit split or the middle mouse button, the split operation is executed. One last step here, split by planes is also possible. And that's one of my favorites because you can see a little saw here. So you see that it's very intuitive what this action will do. So you can, for example, split the plane here at the midpoint of this line and just simply clicking, and you see there is a plane with a normal vector. This normal vector is normally that normal vector which you always had to define in the old version of Hyperworks. So splitting by plane, just to go back, is for example surface edit, and then it's trim with surfaces planes. And then you have to define the normal vector of the plane. So in this case you can see it, and this is the normal vector. And if you hit the middle mouse button, it's executed, and you see that, that this operation splitted this surface into two. All right, now stitching. Let's see where we can do that. Maybe we will just split it once again with a plane. This surface, I'm sorry, which is just a little bit here. You can see the snapping happening, but if you want to be very fine, I guess it was Alt. If you're holding Alt, it's not snapping. But I'm not entirely sure on that. But in this case, it works. And I split it once again. And this did not work. So the target, then the plane. I want it to be a little bit here. Split. Maybe some tolerance issues. We are a little bit above here. Yeah, all right. Okay, and now I want to delete this surface. So there are two options. So the old way was to just hit F2, and this is the delete panel. And here you can select any entity you want to delete and select it and then delete. Now with the Hyperworks X version, you have always, if you're not in any panel, you have the selector here, and you can select between components, lines, parts, points, surfaces, and they even have shortcuts. You can see the C is underlined here. So C is the shortcut for components, L is the shortcut for lines, parts, points, surfaces. So surfaces. I want to just delete the surface here. So I select it and hit the delete key, and that's it. Now stitching should work this way, that you have to select the two surfaces, and then you just hit this mark, and then you can see that no targets were found within the specified stitching distance. Now if you want to see what stitching distance you have here, you just hit F4 for the distance panel. And for example, select two nodes. You have to hold the left mouse button until a edge is highlighted, so you can select any point here, and the same goes on the other side. And now you can see, all right, you have a distance of 0.02. Well, that should not be such a problem. So you stitch again, and here in the options you have the maximum stitching tolerance. For example, we select now 0.1. And if we now select again the two surfaces and select or confirm the actions with the check mark, so left click here, you see that the surfaces got stitched together. All right, and now here, suppress edges. So just for demonstration here, if I just were to use a mesh here, and I know that's a very fine mesh here, so for example 0.2, and I select all the surfaces and mesh it, you can see that all the lines which are indicated in green, they are referenced because the split is doing that what it should do. But if you just don't want a particular split here to work, you can suppress edges. So for example, I want to suppress this edge. Left clicking suppresses it, and that's indicated by this little blue dashed line. And I can unsuppress it by hitting Shift and clicking the line again. So that's very important, and we will cover that in a later occasion in this video on a different model. Now imprint imprints lines on surfaces. So if you have, for example, a rectangular, like right here, then you can imprint this rectangular onto the surface that it is recognized by the meshing process. So once again, if I mesh it, and forgive me, I was just in my old-fashioned way of meshing it with F12, so that's the meshing panel 2D. That's also a valid option, but you have the general 2D mesh option here as well. So, but I will cover this in a later video. So if you mesh a surface like this, you see the rectangular is not recognized. But if you imprint it like this, so you go back to the geometry panel and imprint, now you can select the target, and the target in this case is, let me see, yeah, it could be solids, could be, I think it could also be solid surfaces, but in this case it's always surfaces. But yeah, so you select the surface, and the source in this case are those 4 lines, and now you can imprint. And now you can see the green lines, and just quickly to show you, if I just, yeah, you can see those are two different surfaces. If I mesh those 2 surfaces, then you will see that it is recognized. All right, so back to the geometry editing operation, we have imprint, and for the boolean, I will just simply create 2 solids. And that's also a good demonstration of the move tool, because I have to create solids which overlap. So I will create a box like this, and maybe to make things a little bit more interesting, a sphere like that. Now I could draw it like that they will overlap, but in this case I didn't want to, because I want to show you the move tool. If you on any occasion want to move a component, a solid, a surface, something, you have the move tool here. Now you can select a component, but it's not a component in here. We want to move solids. We want to move just, because look what happens. If I have selected the component and selecting one of the directions or moving something, everything is moved and I will not get to my goal. So that would not work. But if I select solids, to move only solids, I could select the sphere, and then maybe can I change that to align it with the global axis? Well, that's not much of a help, but yeah, we will get there. So like this, and maybe a little bit like that. So we have a little overlap, but it's not so beautiful. I like that, so you can see it a little bit better. All right, I confirm in this case with the middle mouse button. And this is not the way it should work, but you click in this case on the right mouse button, you see that little check mark, hover to the left, and that's it. So you have 2 solids which are bound to each other. No, that's not the right word. So they have a common area where both solids are present. And now we want to boolean cut or boolean combine those. And there's this boolean operation here. And now you're taking you are taking to the boolean panel, and now you can see what you really are happening here. You're in the solid edit panel with the boolean functionality. So let me just quickly go back here. So in the geometry, we have the solid edit panel, and the solid edit panel has some of the functionality which we covered here a little bit for example, split by plane surfaces, it's also happening here. We could do that as well, but you also have the boolean here. So boolean, in this case, you can do different parts. For example, you have simple and advanced options, but I tend to use the advanced options. So if you want to keep all the parts, just to combine that, let me show you how this works. So you select the solid A, and you see that it's just the sphere, and you select the other solid B, in this case, just the cube, and calculate. Now you have one solid. So not really a volume change, but you see that as I hover over the mouse, where a solid selection panel is active, you can see that it's just one solid. I reject that and maybe a different option. For example, keep common parts and calculate that. You will see that all the parts are deleted, but the common parts remain. And you can also use B for deleting something from A. That would be like that. And the other way around is possible as well. So yeah, you also easily can swap A and B. Then you can see that the sphere in this case is taken out of the cube. All right, delete common parts, deletes just the parts in the middle. And what else do we got? Keep A parts. Yeah. All right, that's it about the geometry editing functionality. Plug I will maybe cover in a later video, but I haven't really used it that much. If you have a request for this particular feature, if you use it all the time and know a lot of things about it, maybe just give me a note in the comments, then I will cover that as well. All right, next up, we will go and see what geometry editing functionality we will be using to repair. And it's just an introduction in this case, but let me just quickly show you what's the difference between the old way and the new way. So old way would be you just hit F11 to go into the quick edit panel, and now you examine what's happening here. So for example, here's a surface missing. That's indicated because you see that red line here, and you also can see it a little bit if you turn it. And here's a surface which is overlapping, and you have to go to different panels. For example, if you want to delete a surface, go to F2, select surface here, and select the surface and delete it, and go from there. And a lot of stuff is happening in the F11 section, and maybe in the new version as well. But there are some tools here which can be of use. And the focus I want to lie on in here because yeah, you have this defeature, and here it's the automatic defeature, and this is really cool because it automatically does a lot of stuff. For example, if I just use all surfaces, I could change the criteria here, but I'll leave it on standard right now and press on auto cleanup. You will see that a lot of stuff is happening here. You have some edges which are suppressed. The missing surfaces are not taken care of, but most of the errors are gone now. So that's a quick start. And if you want to do a filler surface, I think you have to go to the F11 panel. So that would be, in this case, well, you don't have to, but you could use the filler surface here, and that's it. But you also could do a surface patch. So this should work as well, but now you have to select all the, maybe find, yeah, that's even better. So find lets you also cycle through the different patches and patch, for example, this. And it's patched also by this strategy, hovering your mouse over, and you have this check mark, clicking left once. And here maybe I don't want to make a surface patch because here you see that it's better to stitch it. So I use the stitch panel, and in this case from here to here. Well, we will see if that works. No, distance is too large. Let me just quickly check with the distance panel what the distance is really like. So it's 0.2. and a little bit more than that. So stitching with 0.3. Yeah, it works, but you see that it's, in this case, picked the wrong line. Maybe if we, yeah, if you select the right line, in this case, the correct line, then it will get stitched the way we intended to do. So this is just an introduction to how you can use the geometry edit functionality to repair your model. And one last feature I want to quickly cover here is if you want to suppress holes or defeature holes, you can do that like here. You have the hole selector, and if you press find, the holes are found. You also can set the options here, which holes to find on which parameters. So the minimum size, the maximum size, and then remove either one by one. So for example, I just want to remove the ones on the top. Then I can just simply hover over and clicking. And this should also be one of that, and this one, and lastly this one. No, we have one left. All right. So, and why did the lower, there was a lower, yeah, I'm sorry, just quickly want to, I think I reverted too much of my actions here, but I cannot let that be unfinished here, so I'm stitching that once again. See that I selected the right edge, and now I want to suppress all the edges, all the holes here. So let me just quickly check what the diameter of this hole is, because I don't want to find this hole. So it's a diameter of 6.5 most likely, and I want to defeature all holes which, find options, are below 5. Find. Now you can see that the four holes here are selected. Remove all, and that does the trick. All right. This is an also perfectly suited model for generating a mid-surface, and this will be the topic of the next video. But for now, if you have any questions, comments, please let me know in the comment sections below. And I hope you learned something, and I hope I could be of any help with this video. And yeah, I would be happy if you leave a like or comment on the topic. And yeah, I'm looking forward to see you in the next video. Thank you.